Right now, the train keeps rolling. Preseason week 2, got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers up in Acrisure. Still can't quite get Acrisure out of my Heinz Field. The Bucks are coming up to play, and something unique. They are coming up to practice as well. You said they got one day of practice, joint practice. That's Thursday.
Yeah, it's going to be Thursday, actually held at the stadium. So they're not coming up to St. Vincent's in the manner like when Detroit did that a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, at this particular point. So, yes, they'll be in the stadium. So everybody's excited about that.
So I really can't remember having any joint practices when I played, but I think maybe one year we did. But from a quarterback perspective, I can imagine from an O-line perspective, blocking somebody else differently from your team is a good change up and very advantageous. But from a quarterback perspective, do you get some good work out of joint practices?
Yeah, you do. And then for me, I experienced it when I was in Detroit. We actually practiced against the Carolina Panthers at that time, but this was the late '90s, obviously a little bit before you, Trey. You know, if you get to this point, not to age myself over here, but it
Mo
didn't
Bo.
happen here in Pittsburgh. Didn't happen here in Pittsburgh when I was here. But you do get an opportunity with just talking to the players, and they get excited about it because now you're actually going against different players. You don't know their snap count. You know, they don't know their signals in the same manner that you would when you're practicing against each other for so long. So it's really good to get that work in, and especially if guys who aren't playing in the game that they're able to get that work against other competition just to get a sense of what week one is going to feel like.
Right. And I think even more so, I think guys would tend to be a little bit more physical in practice than they are in the games. You know, you see a lot of the fisticuffs that happen with these joint practices sometimes because of guys getting after it. But I think from an O-line perspective, this is very crucial this week to get some good work during that joint practice. They got a guy in Vita Villa, their D tackle, who's one of the best in the league. So I know Mason and Zach and Spencer or Isaac, if he's back healthy, are going to get some good work. And then they got Hassan Reddick, who can rush from both sides. So hopefully he can give Mason, or not Mason, freaking Broderick and Troy some good looks over there. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think from a defensive standpoint, they got a plethora of receivers on the Buccaneers side of the ball that Baker Mayfield is willing to deal into. So I think defense has their work cut out this week as well.
They do, and this is the point of camp. You know, and every coach does it around the league. If you're having joint practices, you just kind of alert it. You're saying, "Hey, I don't need the inside information as it relates to game planning or any inside information. All I want to know is kind of what your thought process is. How can we help on the other side? By creating different opportunities for you, whether that's blitzing a little bit more. Maybe you need to work on site adjustments and hots. So these conversations go on, and you get that throughout the course of practice. It's not going to happen that much in preseason because when you get to the games, because you're trying to get in out of there, making sure that you're healthy and those type of things there. So there will be some conversations that take place, and both sides will be able to benefit from this. You don't want to come in here and just be as vanilla because you're like, man, we could have just did that and went to a 7-on-7 camp. If that was the case, hey, we need to get better. And to your point of being chippy, a lot of these young guys who are on the roster, man, they're trying to show, hey, I do have a little fight in me.
Right.
And that's why some of these practices get a little heated in that particular perspective. Coaches don't necessarily like it, but those players are fighting for their jobs, and you have to be respectful of that process as well.
Yeah, exactly. And their quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who's very familiar to us in Pittsburgh, has found a home down in Tampa. I don't know about you. I've always liked Baker. I thought he went into a tough situation in Cleveland, made them into a competitive team, gave them an edge. I've always liked the way he carried himself, and I think his teammates enjoy and endears himself to his teammates as well. And so it's kind of cool to see what he's doing down in Tampa. He's had 2 really good years, led them to playoffs. But from what do you see? Do you think he's found his home? He's going to make some hay down there in Tampa?
Yeah, he found his home. And I'm like you, I never thought he should have left Cleveland to begin with. But again, when you have a fan base who's trying to learn how to win, they
Right.
become very impatient. And that's why they moved on. And you talk about him winning a playoff game in Pittsburgh for that matter. You're like, man, that's a big deal. But obviously they didn't feel that way. He goes down to Tampa and then he has to follow the GOAT, Tom Brady. That is
Right.
a very tough task to have.
People
And for
don't
him
mention
to
that
be
enough.
able,
Yeah.
yeah, and people to go in there and actually put a Pro Bowl season
Right.
together and having those guys on the cusp of for competing and going deep into the playoff. That's special. And I'm happy for Baker that he was able to find a home. And literally, what you're seeing from the moment he got into the league is what you're seeing right now. But there's a lot more confidence with it because of the experience that he brings, and those guys are all following him. So it's great to see.
What are some position battles that still need to hash himself out? I know we just played one preseason game. The O-line still has a ways to go. Running back group still has a ways to go. Those are the two position groups that I'm looking at. But are there any other position groups that need to solidify themselves more? It was cool. I did want to mention this to see Cole Holcomb come back and play the way he did last week.
Yeah, and I was going to go that direction to see him after the grueling injury that he had in 2023, missing that time, getting back out there to change the direction. It looks like he is where he was prior to the injury. So that was good to see. And hopefully he makes some leeway into that inside linebacker group and having that, bringing that veteran presence to Peyton Wilson. But for me, I'm looking to see which secondary defender. We need one, two to really step up more than others, right? We know who our top three is with Slay, Ramsey, Joey Porter Jr., and Benny Bishop is securing that fourth slot. But again, you need that fifth, that sixth, secondary defender that they're going to keep in that position to step up. But ultimately, those guys have to play special teams as well. So that's going to be an area there that I think that is going to continue to be scrutinized to see who could create separation. And if they don't, the closer you get to that cut date, and they'll be scouring waiver wires to see if there's somebody on another roster that actually can provide that depth here in Pittsburgh.
Do you think we'll see the starters this week? Is week 2 what week 3 used to be when we had 4 preseason games? The dress rehearsal, as they used to call it. Do you think Tomlin is finally going to let Aaron out the house?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the dress rehearsal. Obviously, things can change the closer that we get to the game. But everything that Aaron is talking about here, he wants to play just like he did last week. He really wanted to get in there, but Coach Tomlin said, no, that's not going to happen this week. So what does that look like moving forward? So I think those conversations will continue to play itself out as the week goes on. But ultimately, who's healthy? Will Aaron have DK if he's playing? So again, a lot of these conversations are all going to play itself out. And I think right now it's just a little bit too early, only because we're a ways away from that first preseason game happening. But selfishly, especially with me calling the game with Bob Pompiani, I want to play. Hey, I want to talk about these starters. I want these guys to be in there to get a feel for what this group truly looks like.
Right. Looking forward to this. I think they got a lot to prove in the second preseason that they're coming out looking so good. Hope to see that it's not just a fluke and that they can come back offensively, especially, and put up the same type of performance. But we'll be back with more from around the league. We got some other quarterback competitions to look at, but we'll be back with the snap count.